Today we are making the fruit basket quilt block. So this is part of a series that I'm doing where I'm showing several different varieties of basket quilt blocks. So this is one of them. This block is a 10-inch size, but if you'd like to make it in a 5-inch or a 15-inch, I have a printable for that has diagrams and cut instructions for the different sizes and everything. Also, I have this quilt pattern that I'm creating that has these different basket blocks, all 5 different styles that I've got. So if you'd like to get that quilt pattern, you can go grab that as well. But let's just get started here. So I thought for this one, the base block is just a 2-tone with like blue and white or whatever color. So I thought it would be fun to make the basket a different color than the fruit. So for this video tutorial, I'm going to do it that way. So you're going to need 2 squares of fabric, the color, and a background piece. These are 7 inches square, and of the same color you're going to need 3-inch squares. So there's a 3 orange and a 3-inch background. Now if you want to do the fruit a different color, these squares right here, then choose a different color for this. If you'd like to do them the same, then just do the same color. But this one you'll need a 6-inch of the color and 6-inch background piece. And then we'll just have a few more pieces here. We have a square. This is 2.5 inches, and then we'll have 2 rectangles. These are 2.5 by 6.5 inches. So let's just get started here. We're going to start with our 2 basket pieces. These are both going to be made into half square triangles. So let's just mark these up. These are just the 2 at a time method for both of these. So if they are all the same color, you'll choose your largest and your smallest sets for the half square triangles that you will make into the 2 at a time method. So let me just maybe explain what I was doing there. I take my square of fabric, I line up my ruler from corner to corner on the 1/4 of an inch marking, and then I just draw a line along the edge, and that is the line that I'm going to sew on. So I just do that on both sides of the center, and then we'll just take these over to the sewing machine. I'll just line up each square with right sides together, and I will just stitch along both of those lines, and I'll do that for the large and the small one. Okay, so I've got those sewn along the lines here. So the next step is to just slice them in half right between the seams. So I'll just take my ruler here and just cut right down the middle between the 2 seams here. And we'll do that for both of the half square triangles, both of the squares. Okay, now these ones I'm just going to set aside. I'm going to trim them up in a minute, but these larger ones, we're only going to need 1 of these for our block. So you can set aside your other one. You can make it and use it for something else, or you can make another block using it. But what we're going to do is we're going to trim this up to 6.5 inches. So I've just got my square up ruler here, line up the seam with the 6.5 inch line and trim off the outer edges. Okay, so then lastly, I'm going to just take my iron and I will press open the block. Now I like to press towards the color just so it doesn't show through that white background fabric. And then our last step here is just to trim the tails. So we'll just trim those little tails off with a pair of scissors. Okay, so there we have our large half square triangle. We have our 2 smaller ones. We're going to trim those up in a minute. I just figured it would be easier to do it all at once when I get these other ones made. So this other fabric, these are the 6-inch pieces. We're going to be doing the 8 at a time method. So we're going to mark up our fabric the same way. The only difference is we're going to be going in both directions. So we'll go this way, and then we'll also go from the other corner to corner and mark those corners. Okay, so we'll grab our pieces right sides together, and then we will just go stitch along all of these lines. Okay, so I have sewn on all of the lines, so I'll just grab my cutting mat here, and we're going to trim this up. So we're going to slice these in half vertically and horizontally. And I'm just lining up these center points, and then I'm just making sure the edge is straight as well. And then we're going to cut them in half diagonally between the stitching. And we'll do that in both directions. Just like that. So now we have 8 half square triangles, and it's time to trim them up. That one did not get cut all the way. My blade is getting dull. I need to replace it. Okay, so we're going to grab our other 2 squares here that we had from before, and then all our new squares, and these are all going to be trimmed to 2.5. So we'll just take our half square ruler, half square triangle ruler. We'll just line up the 2.5 inch marking right along the seam, and then trim the outer edges just like that. And I'll just do that with all of these half square triangles. Okay, so I've got them all trimmed to size. So next I'm going to press them open, and I will just place the colorful side on top and then lift and press. This will make the seam go towards the color. So I'll just do that for all of these squares. Then lastly, we'll just trim the tails just like we did with the big one. And I just do this with a pair of scissors. It's quick and easy. All right, it's time to assemble our block. We have our large half square triangle. We have our 2 small half square triangles of the same color for our base. So we'll just create our little basket base here. Then we will place our remaining pieces all with the points downward and to the right. So we will have 4 across the top, and then moving downward we'll have 3 more down the side, and then we will have 1 extra that we'll save for later. Your square of fabric will go in the bottom right corner, and then we will place our rectangles on the right side and on the bottom. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to take this top row right here and sew these 4 half square triangles together. I'm going to take these 3 and sew them together. I'm going to take the bottom rectangle and the half square triangle and sew those 2 together. And then these ones right here on the right, I will sew all 3 of these together in a column. Okay, so we have all of our outer pieces sewn together. So next I'm just going to do a little pressing, get them nice and flat. So for this top row, I'm going to be pressing them towards the left. So I'll just do that. And then the rest of them can kind of go just whichever way that you'd like. So I'll just press this one. Just like that. And then the bottom row. And then I'm just going to think through here. This one, we have a seam here connecting, so I'm going to press towards this for this one. So I'm going to press this one downwards. So I just kind of think through the way the seams are going to go so that I can nest the seams. When I sew this one together, I'm going to press towards the big one. So then this one will be pressed downward. So the next step is to take these 2 pieces. So we'll take our 3 half square triangles and our big one. We'll place them right sides together and stitch along that side right there. Okay, so we have that. I'm going to press these towards the large half square triangle. Okay, so I will take this top row, place it right sides together, and stitch along the top. Okay, so I will grab my iron and I will just press those. I'm going to press it towards the center as well, just because there are less seams in that middle. So it's just going to lay a little nicer. Okay, and then we'll grab our bottom piece here and we'll flip it right sides together and stitch along the bottom. Okay, one more time, we're going to press towards the middle just to keep it consistent. And then we will grab our final piece here on the side, place it right sides together and stitch along the side. Okay, so lastly we will just press open this last piece. Okay, so that is how you make the fruit basket quilt box. So if you'd like to make it in another size, be sure and grab that free printable. Or if you'd like to join us and make the quilt with the 5 different styles of basket blocks, go ahead and grab that pattern.